Oui, je suis prête. He's at the door.
He's always at the door.
Go play your game.
This is why we are still in the starting soon thingy. Although I am sure everyone can hear us if there was anyone listening.
Probably.
Okay, let's do this. We're doing this.
Yay!
Woo. Is that a whiny dog?
No, that's Connor.
Connor sounds like a whiny dog.
I know, right? Yeah, no, that's Connor.
Hi, people.
Hi, YouTube. I just realized my husband's tux is just hanging
Oh,
in the
dude, I
corner.
have been reading that every time you stood. Yeah, every time you stood up, because I have a reading problem. When there's words, I read them.
Yeah, yeah. Connor's isn't there because it's in his closet. He's gonna be so cute. Oh
Oh, Jesus.
my god. Anyway, today we are talking about In the Hand of the Goddess by Tamora
Let's go for
Pierce.
it.
That's because you have one of the newer covers.
I do.
Mine's from like
Mine's from like yesterday.
1997.
Oh, there's an afterword from like 2014 in here. Oh, this is um the cover illustration is from 2014.
So yeah, yours is way, way newer than mine. I was 8 when this came out.
Which means I was 9.
um,
Oh my
but
god.
so once again, we are in the situation of this particular book is
241. Mine is 241.
mine is 209 pages.
I have an extra 39 pages.
Probably because the print's bigger.
Probably.
um, and so much happens in those 209 pages. It spans basically about 4 years. From just shortly after she becomes a squire to
10
when
minutes
she
after she becomes a knight.
yes to going to up to going through her ordeal of knighthood and a little bit after that.
About 20 minutes.
Um, so the first thing we find out at the opening of this is that her father's died,
I'm sorry, I'm not that sad.
which happened between the books. And since he wasn't really he was kind of a neglectful dad in the first place, that's why he sent his kids away.
It's like,
It's
meh.
the only thing that this really affects is that Coram is not with her throughout this book.
I miss
Oh,
Coram.
I know, right? Aren't you glad he'll be back for book 3?
Of course. What I'm
Um,
not happy about is that monstrosity we are reading between this one and book 3.
it'll be really boring at least.
That's the problem.
So it starts out with her. She's traveling from. I don't remember if it actually says
It's unimportant
where
wherever it is.
she's coming from, but she's doing some sort of errand for John for Miles, fetching a document that's 300 years old or something. Um, and she gets stuck in a rainstorm and hides under a tree and gets visited by the great mother goddess herself. Because
I love
previous
it.
to previous to this, the gods haven't they've been mentioned a lot, but they haven't been talked about as if they're they're just gods. Same with uh, in our lives, how people talk about any of their gods, they never actually physically see them. But in this book, it takes her out of that and into, she actually sits down and has a conversation with the mother goddess, who claims her as one of her chosen, which generally means she's destined for big things.
Oh
Uh,
Jesus.
they,
I'm sorry that. How often is being chosen? Like that generally means lots of bad stuff is going to happen.
true, setting to right all the wrongs in the world and stuff like that. Yeah, pretty big deal. Um,
Moonshine. I'm sorry. Well, okay, there's this much moonshine and that much apple cider.
day drinking, Robin. Day drinking.
Well, look. I have to be at work at 6:45. I'm going to bed. Like if I don't day drink, I don't drink. And like I said, it's that much moonshine
um,
because I have no tolerance.
but can we talk about the fact that the mother goddess is like a warrior goddess? Like she's a patron saint of warriors, which is pretty amazing for, she's the great mother. Most of the time when a goddess is a goddess of motherhood, they're not really, typically not really warriors. I mean, Mithras is also a warrior god, which begs the question of the beliefs of the people of Tortall that their two main gods are warriors. Um,
And yet their king is the peacekeeper.
the current one, anyway.
Yes.
But she's also goddess of the hunt. I kind of imagine her as kind of a Diana Artemis sort, except with some Hera type attributes. What with the whole family thing? I don't know. So she gets claimed by the mother goddess, and she meets a cat with purple eyes. And if that
She meets a cat.
if that doesn't tell you something's up with the cat, I don't know what does.
Don't forget, she has purple eyes.
Yes, but she has magic.
Oh yeah.
Most cats. And the cat talks. Sort of. Only people he wants to understand him can understand him. Now, for those who have read the other, so this book came out, I think it was first published in 1984, I believe.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Text copyright is 1984. So, this was the second.
Yet.
Neither was I.
Well, I'm older than you, so if I wasn't born, you weren't born.
This came out, and obviously her Becca books had not come out yet, which the cat with purple eyes makes an appearance in those too, except those take place in the past. However, I found it very interesting that when they were trying to come up with names for the cat, the suggestions are... John suggests Pounce, which is the name of the cat in Becca's books.
I am sure Tamara did that on purpose.
But it was like 20 years.
They were printed. All she had to do was go read it.
But yeah, so it made me chuckle having read Becca's books.
Especially to make sure it stays consistent lore-wise and like she doesn't up and change things. I'm sure she at least reread the Faithful Saints.
I thought you were saying she had already known Pounce was going to be his name in Becca's book when she wrote.
No. She
just
reread
she went
this.
back. She went back and looked at what her suggestions were for,
and then picked one from that list.
Picked one that she liked.
In fact, that list could have been written because those were all ideas she actually had.
Possibly, except Raoul.
Hey, who knows? Maybe she likes that name.
But we have Raoul Golden Lake already.
Okay, she just really likes that name.
And Gary just said it because,
Of course,
making
of
fun
course,
of Raoul.
yes, yes.
But they named the cat Faithful, and the cat doesn't like the Duke of Conte. I wonder why.
Calzone likes the Duke of Conte.
Everyone but Alana likes the Duke of Conte.
I don't think Miles likes him very much.
Miles isn't sure about him. He doesn't trust him, but he doesn't,
He doesn't hate him, but like is a strong word. Which is saying something, because like is not a very strong word.
No. And Miles likes most people.
Yeah.
But, so...
But anyone who has, protagonist tendencies, they don't like him. Except for John. And that's because John has issues.
He's also his cousin. I personally wouldn't want to think my cousins are trying to kill me.
I wouldn't think my cousins were trying to kill me, but at times, like is a strong word for how I feel towards my cousins. Some of them, sometimes.
Most of my cousins are spread out across the U.S. now. I don't see them a whole lot.
I am that cousin right now.
Yeah, I miss you.
I'm not going to see you until like Christmas break.
I know. It's sad.
I'm not going to see my father until Christmas break.
My husband may be out of a job by then.
Oh. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
The entire internet doesn't need to know about that. Hi, internet.
But so the Duke of Conte is, of course, John's cousin, and he's kind of an ass.
Kind of.
Alana can never quite put her finger on it, but she feels like the Duke wants John out of the way so that he can inherit the throne, because he's third in line. If something happens to the king, queen, and John, he inherits. She also gets a magic pendant from the goddess that helps her see when people are using magic.
Well, we don't know that yet. Okay, we don't know that when she gets the pendant. We learned that like 2/3 of the way through the book.
Yeah. So throughout her squire years, weird accidents keep occurring. Generally when the Duke of Conte or his squire are nearby.
You mean like Alex trying to kill Alana?
Yeah, even though he's her friend, sort of.
Yeah.
She almost drowns in a frozen lake that's been salted.
Yeah.
A boar almost guts her. A wolf
almost kills her. I mean, yeah.
A war starts up and the enemy kidnaps her.
I mean, he can't even call that an accident. They knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted her. It's not like,
and they knew where she's
in the way.
And she had talked to the Duke of Conte 10 minutes before everything started, like before she got kidnapped. So, suspiciousness, and yet nobody puts it together, not even her till the end.
Oh, she starts putting it together. She just has no physical proof of any of her suspicions.
She doesn't put it together enough. Like, it's way too many coincidences.
She basically like, this is like, even Miles says, like, you can't accuse someone with this much stature without proof. And it's like, but I don't have any. He's like, find some, dang it.
Right.
Unless that's in that 39 pages you don't have.
No. So throughout this, the goddess actually discusses with Alana her various fears that she says she needs to conquer.
I only remember one of them.
Her fears are
I remember.
Falling in Love,
Oh, I remember that one. That was it.
um,
I remember another one was their deal.
Chamber of the Ordeal, and then Duke of Conte. So, Goddess is basically like the ordeal will come when the ordeal comes. You can't deal with it early. The Goddess is also the patron goddess of like not love exactly, but she she has an entire warrior cult of women whose job it is to protect women who are trying to get away from abusive uh, lovers and stuff. And the entire culture fully accepts the idea of women being able to have relations outside of marriage. Um, it's not frowned upon. I mean, it's encouraged for ladies to, maintain their virtue for family line purposes. But Alana's afraid of love because she's afraid of giving up parts of herself. She thinks that it will diminish her to love anyone romantically because she saw what it did to her father to love her mother and then lose her mother. And she doesn't want to be like that.
She also doesn't.
So,
She also doesn't want anyone to chain her down. It's like she's like, look, I'm gonna be a knight. I'm gonna go roam the countryside. No one's gonna stop me.
right. And she's afraid that if she falls in love, her lover will try to keep her from being who she wants to be. And the goddess actually tells her, you fear love, you fear Jonathan's love and the love of the rogue George Cooper, because of course she's got two potential love interests. You even fear the love of Miles, who only wants to be your father. Yet what is there for you to fear? Warmth, trust, a man's touch. And she says, I don't want a man's touch. I'm sorry, I meant no disrespect. I just want to be a warrior maiden and go on adventures. I don't want to fall in love, especially not with George or John. They'll ask me to give them parts of me, and I want to keep me for myself. Look at my father. He never really got over my mother's death. He told me that when he died last month, he was calling for her. He gave her part of himself, and he just never got it back. That's not going to happen to me. And then her third fear is the Duke of Conte. So she spends the entire book with suspicions. They go to war for a little while, a summer, with Chuzane, because one of the dukes of Chuzane wants to
Rufus, come on, let's go.
Invade Tortal to get some of the land that's technically theirs that was gained by John's father. Alana makes friends with some of the soldiers because she's not like a stuck-up noble like some nobles. Queen falls ill again because,
Of course.
And Delia of Eldorn comes into play in this. And she's basically like the ultimate in manipulative. I don't know how to put it. Manipulative bitches. She basically seduces John to start with, but plays him against all of his other friends, like flirts with his other friends to make him jealous, while also like playing the hot and cold game with him. And eventually Alana starts dressing up as a girl in secret because she's missing that part of her. And John sees her and realizes. And so he ends up ditching Delia for Alana. Because it's really easy when they live in the next room. And Delia, turns out, is working for the Duke of Conte to control. Like, she's basically just out there as a distraction for John.
I feel like the sections of the chapters that focus on the Duke of Conte, like from his perspective, I feel like this would be better if we just did, like, if we were all still kind of not sure if the Duke was evil. Instead of like, okay, we're not, all the audience is now absolutely certain the Duke is evil.
Right. But I think it also mentions somebody else who comes to court.
Starts with a C. CY something. You talking about another woman?
Yes, who comes into play in a later book. She's from the north, I believe.
The one where everyone is like
Cythera.
Yeah.
She's
her.
the Lady of Cythera. Where the frick is it? Cythera of Eldon. Yeah. I believe she comes into play in another one of the books as a significant player. But also when we get toward, like, so all this time Alana's been sending secret messages to her brother so that through George, so that they can't be read by anybody in the castle, right? George's men start dying as they're trying to bring this correspondence back and forth. So they bring Tom back into it by George and Alana go to visit him at some point. And
I think she was 16, 17?
Roughly, yeah.
Somewhere in there. 16 or 17. Maybe 17.
And her brother had just passed his mark of his ordeal of mastery for sorcery.
The written part.
Yeah.
The oral part was coming later.
Yeah. And he
became insufferable after that. Like, just stuck up.
Yeah. Basically. But so he comes back into play in this book more so than he did in the first. And when it comes time for her ordeal, he comes back to the palace because he's passed his ordeal fully. And he brings her a shield. Her friends get her all sorts of armor. She has to bring she has to bring a couple of knights in for her ordeal because they have to instruct her in the laws of chivalry or something while she takes a bath. So she has to since John knows that she's a girl, she needs 2 knights to do so. So they decide to bring his cousin Gary in because Gareth of Naxon will find it hilarious. And he does.
And he does.
She's super afraid of everybody being
mad that she lied for like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. And she ends up telling Miles as well before her ordeal.
And he basically I knew that.
He's like, I've known since the sweating sickness in book 1.
Well, that's exactly what he said. I've known since the sweating sickness in book 1.
he basically says he started putting the pieces together after she cured John of the sweating sickness and he heard a woman's voice coming out of her. And after, like, he continued to watch over her, and it never bothered him that she was a girl trying to become a knight. So he kept her secret and waited for her to tell him. And so she tells him, and it's a touching little moment, like a kind of father-daughter moment. And she tells Gary, and he thinks it's the funniest thing ever. They go through her cleansing bath or whatever, and then they instruct her in the laws of chivalry as like a refresher thingy. Then she has to go through meditation, I guess I'd call it.
You know,
She basically,
or a vigil, something.
yeah, like she's basically has to wait outside the chamber of the ordeal until dawn for the entire night and not say a word till her ordeal's over. And in the ordeal, she faces some of her greatest fears. Spiders, cold. I'm trying to remember some of the others.
I just remember the spiders from that cold. No, after that.
Did you hear something?
Yes, my phone.
Oh, okay.
I will answer when I'm done. Okay, it's not I will answer when I'm done. I will go and call that person. That was a short call. I will call that person back when I am done. I think it was just cold and spiders and
Jonathan's death?
yeah.
So she goes through that, and then she sees the Duke of like in her ordeal, she basically sees like this photo on the wall being like almost like a video being projected, but it's fuzzy, and she goes over and like tears into it, and she discovers that what she's seeing is the Duke putting on a crown after Jonathan's death, as if he planned it, right? Super ominous, blah, blah, blah. She ends up deciding to break into his rooms that night and discovers that he has been essentially poisoning the queen through magic. He's been holding her, an image of her, sort of like a puppet or a voodoo doll under water to wear her away so that her illness seems normal, that it seems like it's not magic. Meanwhile, all the other important people in the realm are their puppets are tied up in a sack, so that they can't piece together what he's doing, which explains why nobody either believed that he was up to anything or couldn't put enough pieces together to prove anything because they're all under a magic spell. She confronts him. He challenges her to a duel, as is his right as a noble. And there's a big fight scene where he exposes her as a girl by cutting through her corset, which leads to, I'll explain as soon as we're done killing each other. And
then it was like, well, we knew.
Some of them, except the king.
Well, yeah, the king's like,
but she's already passed her ordeal, so nobody can take her knighthood away from her. And she nearly loses to the Duke because of his magic. He cheats.
Of course he does.
He ends up almost killing John and the king and the queen in the process with his magic.
How are there 3 duels in this book? And they all involve Alanna. And the other person cheats.
Because not everybody's, as chivalrous as she is.
Yes, but I'm like, did everyone have to cheat?
Sneaky, honorable people cheat. Sneaky, dishonorable
people cheat.
They don't have the honor Alanna has. It's kind of the point.
What's a chance that all 3 of them would be dishonorable?
Considering one was Duke of Conte's squire, the other one was a knight from the realm that they were about to go to war with.
Knights, they're supposed to be honorable.
Just because they're supposed to be doesn't mean they are.
Clearly.
So she ends up winning, and she basically decides that she's going to leave she kind of decided she was going to leave before that, but she leaves the castle. The book ends with her leaving the castle to go on adventures.
Like she's been talking about literally the entire book.
Yes. She ends up leaving. Corum's back because Tom's finished with his studies, so he can actually take over his duties as the Lord of Dravon. And so Corum gets to join her on her adventures, and she basically just decides she's going to go somewhere warm for winter because she hates the cold. And that's how it ends.
That makes total sense, actually.
I feel like I hate the cold. I would love to be somewhere warm, but at the same time, I feel like it'd be weird not to have seasons.
I know.
Like I'd love to be able to go on vacation for February every year.
The entire month.
It's a short month and it's the coldest.
I don't know. January's pretty cold.
Yeah, but February's really bad.
January is when we see all of our snow days here. February, that's just like runoff from leftover from January.
I don't know. I always feel like February's colder. But so I get wanting to go somewhere warm, but I also feel like if I lived in Florida or Texas or something, I'd be very weirded out by the lack of actual change.
I would probably be weirded out by the lack of change, and then I would be upset when it's the summer and it's a gazillion and 5 degrees outside.
That too.
My mom is going to Atlanta next week, and she looked at the weather today. It's supposed to hit 100 today.
Yeah, it was 90 degrees here yesterday.
Here too, it's just too hot.
It's October. It's October. What is wrong with the world?
I am going to be upset if we have any snow days this year.
Today's nicer. Today's 65, I think.
Oh, lucky you. It's in the 70s here.
I'm not sure exactly. It was warm enough to be able to...
It's been in the 70s all day, though. It hasn't gotten hotter.
It's raining today, so...
It hasn't rained here yet. I can look at
it. It's 62 degrees right now.
It's supposed to drop to 60s tomorrow.
But it's been raining all day. and
Needs to rain.
Friday's 58.
Oh, jeez, good.
Like I can handle 70. If it was 70, I'd be happy. But it just doesn't feel like October when it's 85 degrees out.
It doesn't even feel like September when it's 85 degrees out.
Not
Except for
like
like the beginning of September, maybe.
yeah. And my kid's school doesn't have air conditioning.
My school has air conditioning that goes out every other day.
Yeah. So like he wears shorts to school pretty much every day right now. It's too warm in that. Like it's way too warm in that school, even when it's 60 degrees out.
There was a school that I worked at, and it didn't have air conditioning. And over the summer, when they had summer school, they just like, you know what, child, go home, and they would just send all the kids home early.
At your school, do they have a cafeteria or do they just eat lunch in the gym?
They have a cafeteria.
Because my kid eats lunch in the gym.
When I was in my first elementary school, the one that actually had school lunches, we ate in the gym. I feel like
I don't even know how they cook it if they don't have a kitchen.
Well, like my school had a kitchen, it was just attached to the gym.
It just seems weird to me. But then I never went to a public elementary school, so.
I feel like really, I don't know how old your school is or how old my school was, but I have a feeling like really old schools, it might be like that. Because if it was built long enough ago, most of the kids went home for lunch.
Makes sense. So In the Hand of the Goddess gets like 5 stars for me because 1, the nostalgia, and 2, it's a really, really good book. It's a great book for I feel like it's a great book for preteens. It handles the romantic aspects really well. And it basically, like, the message that it sends is, like, do what makes you happy. Like, there's nothing wrong with a romantic relationship even when you're young, but at the same time, like, make sure it's what you really want. Like, you know, don't let anybody pressure you into stuff. But, so it's a good message, and I love people's eyes there, my God.
I'm loving this book, like just the cover of this book. The other ones don't look as pretty.
I want those covers so badly.
They have a picture of all of the covers on the back, and none of them are as shocking and beautiful as this one.
God damn it. So next, we're reading Eclipse by Stephenie Meyer, which this copy is
too long. Why did her editor not go and say this book is too long, cut it down?
629 pages.
Why didn't her editor go in and say, take out this part, it's boring, and take out this part, it's boring, and take out this part, it's boring?
I don't think she had an actual editor.
Okay, she went to a major publisher. The publisher would have given her an editor. They would not have said, okay, we'll take whatever the heck you give us.
It's so badly written. I don't get it.
But, okay, here's the thing. Yes, we keep saying it's horrible. But at the same time, you have a whole bunch of people who love this.
They're very strange people.
It is the vast majority of American teenage women and 20-something women at the time.
I don't get it.
Don't forget, we're the weirdos.
Yeah, I guess.
No, not an I guess. We have been weird for a very long time. I don't know about you. I've been weird since I was like 5.
On the upside, the benefit to this is it's achieving a criteria for me for book battle this month.
I knew it.
I needed a black cover. It had to be at least 50% black, and I get really bad about being able to judge that sort of thing. Like
I'm pretty sure that qualifies.
I had like 5 books that I thought were at least 50% black because the picture itself was like 50% black, but the rest of the cover wasn't. And yeah, so they didn't count. And then I had to read Nine Perfect Strangers, which was really boring. But this is for sure over 50% black.
I'm over 50% black.
The sad part is, if I hadn't remembered this, I would have gone with. I would try to get my hands on Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which I guarantee is like 500 times better than this. But it's also a new book, so it's hard to get my hands on a library copy. So, and yes, I know you're over 50% black. I'm pretty sure you're like 100% black.
I mean, I am probably as black as your average black American who, yeah, there's very few of us who are 100% black.
As far as you know, you're 100% black. I mean, there's probably something in there somewhere from way back when, but... I mean,
you and your paleness probably have something from somewhere way back when.
I don't know. Most of them, like...
I guess... We know in one half of your family you're Polish, so we're not counting that half.
Because my mom's grandparents were all immigrants, so... It'd have to be on my dad's side somewhere. Though he swears there's Native American in our family.
Everyone swears there's Native American in their family.
I know, right? And I have it, like, that's the main reason I kind of want to do a DNA thingy, to be like, Dad, no. Have you seen us?
Yeah, I kind of want to do a DNA thingy because my family is apparently really good at finding out all kinds of random information, and I'm like, maybe I need to find out something.
Didn't your one of your grandparents change their name? Like,
oh yeah,
really suspiciously?
Yeah. My dad's dad changed his. Well, he didn't change his last name. My dad's mom ran away and changed her last name. And apparently this was at a time when all you had to do to change your last name was just start going by a new last name. And my grandfather and his sister didn't find out.
And chose a really generic one.
Oh, God, as generic as can be.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it doesn't get any... At least my grandfather's name was not John.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They only found out at some point when they needed...
You know what's hilarious?
What?
The name she picked is my husband's birth last name.
Okay, but the thing is, this is like everyone's last name.
Yeah. I came this close to it being my married name. If my mother-in-law hadn't have changed their names back to her maiden name when they got divorced, then we'd have the same last name.
And then we could really tell people we're sisters.
I know, right? It'd be amazing.
Although we definitely did that in high school. I definitely did that with not all the people in high school, but there was one guy in my high school. We had the same last name. And my teacher got excited when he was reading the attendance. It's like, are you related? And it's just like, no. Especially if you have your complexion.
There are so many people with your last name. If I had 5 of them in one class, I wouldn't think any of them are related.
My grade had 5 of us. None of us were related.
Exactly. Like, unless 2 people with your last name told me they were related.
And then I would still need proof. I'm like, are you sure? Yeah. But we,
it'd be interesting to be able to prove my dad wrong on that, because as of now, and my mom says he's wrong, that she'd met his grandmother and she wasn't Native American at all.
I'm not laughing. All over the internet.
Yeah, yeah. You could find out some crazy stuff about your history, given that you know basically nothing past your dad's grandmother.
Well, I mean, okay, but on my mom's side of the family, we have literally found a new cousin.
How did a new cousin just come out of nowhere?
Well, see what happened was. Yes, this is one of those stories. You know, we've been on this call for 53 minutes and I am not done with this yet.
To be fair, we've been talking a lot.
It's one glass, man.
I'm going to have to make dinner soon. Okay. I'm surprised it's not already bugging me.
Okay. Well, let's say goodbye to the internet.
Yeah, because we basically exhausted In the Hand of the Goddess, and we haven't started Eclipse yet. So.
It's only like 241 pages. I mean,
209.
Okay. 241 pages. Bye, internet.
Love you.